Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today, we're going to analyze the top 5 most common teams in Open Great League. Basically, what I mean by commonality is that these teams were used the most in training sims, and they're actually pretty popular. So what I'm going to do while I analyze these teams, I'm going to put my own little spin and my own opinions of what I've seen and what I've seen on other lists or data about the most popular teams in Go Battle League right now. Obviously, this is random, disclaimer. While some of these combinations are so common, the reason why this is hell and trying to measure common teams is hell is because there are so many Pokemon that are now available in Go Battle League. You got Greeding, you got Pidgeot, you got freaking Poliwrath users, everyone that's crazy using Poliwrath. You got Bastiodon, Medicham Core, you have the Kitchen Sink, the Death Star, the whole Saiyan race, and I'm just saying, there's a lot. I've named a lot of anime, but there's a lot of combinations that are now available since 10 seasons of Go Battle League essentially passed. I'm counting the preseason, so preseason and seasons 1 through 9 equals a whole lot of Pokemon for Open Great League. As I would say, please consider contributing to ppoke.com. Now for the top performers, go down here, and we go down. As you see, I'm gonna go towards the percentile, so the percentage. If it's a high percentage, I'm going to analyze it, and we're going to order the highest percentage, in other words, the highest and top most common Pokemon in Open Great League. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first team, sporting at 0.3%, this actually tied at 3% overall. This actually tied with about the Shadow, Nidoqueen, Scrafty, and Umbreon team. I've seen a couple of Shadow Nidoqueen leads. I wouldn't say it's super popular. It could be out there, though. Some things that came pretty close as well were the Jellicent, Altaria, Alolan Ninetales. Jellicent is still out there. I've seen a ton of Jellicent leads, and then a combination of things. Not necessarily Altaria and Alolan Ninetales. However, I have seen a combination of Jellicent teams. Mr. and Mrs. Pringles. The chips of these chips are actually pretty good. I like the pizza one, so sour cream's pretty dope as well. If that was your childhood, that was definitely mine. But anyways, yes, it did come pretty close. But the team I'm analyzing isn't that one. This one came at 3%, which was Hypno, Azu, and Manabuzz. I've seen a few Hypnos. The Shadow version works with Fire Punch, but be very careful because I've had like 2 or 3 Hypno users try to Focus Blast me, okay? If you use 5 Confusions, I know you are trying to Spirit Bomb me. I'm pretty dumb, not that dumb. However, I have gotten blasted before, so if I feel like it's going to be a Focus Blast, I'm probably going to shield. Anyways, this feature is essentially Azu as your Safe Switch, and then you're going to close out with Manabuzz. This is a Play Rough Hydro Pump Azu. Azu is a popular safe switch, so you can expect to see a bunch of people try to safe switch an Azu. So if you're using Galvantulas or Venusaurs to try to counter the Azu safe switch, you're good. This one does use this Play Rough to be able to win the mirror, and if you're able to get bubbles through moves and manage to get a lot of energy, you can possibly take back switch in the Azu mirror with Play Rough. This seems super bulky. Only great coverage and safety. However, Azu isn't as safe as it was in the previous seasons, as I would say, just because of the fact a lot of people are headhunting it. And, of course, B for consistency, because this team does a lot of damage. Hypno's still a great lead, though, don't get me wrong. Hypno, Azu, I've faced a few of these teams. Hypno, Azu is a great combination. Manabuzz in the back, just to cover those Sableye, etc. This team does really well at catching those Venusaur leads, and then punishing either the G-Fist Safe Switch, or if you have Sableye, Manabuzz does really well. So this team is very, very powerful. As you see here, very high threat score. A lot of things can take out this team. You won't see a lot of Dugons and Pachirisus. I have, however, seen some Ferrothorns. I faced some Lapras, and of course, the almighty, yes, the almighty, the Burb, the KFC, the Chicken, Pidgeot. Pidgeot does really well against this entire team. Feather Dance is just so good. Even though it got debuffed, it costs more energy. It still costs kind of the same amount of Gust to get to Feather Dance, so was it really that bad? It's still OP, and it's still very powerful. -2 attack, guaranteed for 50 energy, is still a really good offer. Wait, hold on, before I go into it, let's take a look real quick. But yes, this team is very good. And just to correct myself, just in case you're wondering about Feather Dance data, it is 35 damage for 50 energy, and then you have that 100% chance to debuff. So 50 energy. So that's, as far as Gust goes, if I'm correct, 5 Gusts. Yeah, 5 Gusts. 5 gust, because it's 12 energy, so 5 gust. So that's 20 turns. So it still takes a while to get to, but it's still very powerful. Alright, next up, we standing at 3.2%. This team is still really common. That, or you see like 2 components of it. Venusaur, Bastiodon, G-Fisk. Yay! More of them are dying than they are winning because they are underperforming at -500, but there's still 3.2% of trainers using this team. Why? I don't know. But Venusaur, I've seen Venusaur in the lead a lot. There's also a lot of combinations in the back where you have Venusaur and Stunfisk. So these two are often being used. I think a lot of people finally stopped using Bastion just because it's getting punched in the face too much, or just because Azu is running Hydro Pump a lot nowadays. But either way, I've still seen this team around, and I actually have lost to it plenty of times because even if I beat the Venusaur, this back row is just so freaking strong, and it's insanely powerful. So if we go to the team, as you see here, it is rated very high. Of course, with a Bastiodon, when you have the stupid metal wall shield, it has a ton of bulk, a lot of consistency. Great cover, only good coverage and safety, however. The Venusaur double steel team is still very strong. Galar and Stunfisk is the most powerful safe switch right now, and it's very, very powerful. You've probably seen it used a lot. As you see here, the only con about this team is that you basically flying types are basic if you just lose the lead in a sense. As you see here, Medicham, Deoxys Defense, Excavalier, etc. You still have a pretty strong matchup against these two just because of the fact that you resist the counters. Just be very careful though, because XL Medicham is still very powerful against Venusaur, and if it has Ice Punch in the 2 shield, it's going to give you an insanely hard time. So, just keep in mind, Medicham with Ice Punch is very powerful against the Venusaur lead. And other than that, Venusaur is really good otherwise, just to catch all those Azu. A lot of Azus, there's also some Jellicent leads, like I faced a lot of Jellicent leads. Venusaur does beat G-Fisk pretty convincingly, unless you're able to Earthquake through shields. So, there's win cons against G-Fisk with Venusaur, but this team is still really popular and really powerful. So, don't be surprised if you've seen a lot of Venusaurs, because it's that good. Next up, we have an ABB team. It is the Azu Double Ghost team. Famously created by Tho, which is one of the most powerful battlers of all time. He's a great dude, and you probably know him, and this is the team he created, and a lot of people are still using it. Sadly, this team has dropped off a lot just because of the Venusaur leads, etc. If you look over here, that team actually goes into the negative. Anything below a -500 or at neutral, which is close to 500, is kind of, will probably get an average team rating above 500 means this team wins more often. So an average team rating below indicates underperformance. So this is kind of in the middle. In other words, it's like 50-50. The reason being is because, again, I mentioned, the Venusaur leads are a lot more heavy. There's a lot more combinations to be able to take out Alolan Marowak and Sableye, especially since Azu is a more popular safe switch now. Yes, Sableye can win if you return through shields. However, it's still a rough matchup for you, especially if that Azu is running Play Rough. At 3.3%, it does stand as the #4 most popular team in Open Great League. I faced a few of them, and this team is still really strong. Only good coverage, great bulk and safety and consistency, however. This team is still very, very good, especially if you're able to catch those G-Fisk or those Medicham leads. As you see here, a lot of things can kill this team. Lickitung, Pachirisu, or just basically, Venusaur. Pidgeot can also give Azu a hard time in the 2 shield scenario, especially just because it's able to debuff it so much. Also because Sableye, and especially if you have a Alolan Marowak, this is using Fire Spin AWAC. However, Pidgeot does hardwall Alolan Marowak. So if you see a Pidgeot, that's probably the worst thing you can see in the lead with this team. Along with that, Venusaur leads are pretty rough as well. If you get the Venusaur double steel team, that team does incredibly well against this team. So just be very careful. I'm not saying this particular team is super popular. However, I've seen a ton of Azumarill leads, and you can still see the Sableye safe switch, which I faced a lot. So again, just be very careful if you plan on using this team. Again, statistically, it's fallen off the bat a lot. Alright, for the next team, we got... Remember, Big Plet Dinosaurs, make sure you eat your greens, or make sure all of you destroy every single Venusaur on the planet, because I am the king of Charmanders, and I declare that Bulbasaur is not the greatest starter of all time. Anyways, as you see here, this team, Venusaur, Sableye, Stunfisk, is actually, one, it's positive, as in it actually gets more wins and losses, because it's at a 519 rating, and at 3.4%, it is very powerful. This team is really strong. One of my friends, Rommel, he actually innovated this team, and he put it together, and he was the first one I know to use it, and it just features Sableye safe switch using You replace the Bastion with Sableye, which is one of the most powerful save switches. Then you have the most powerful save switch statistically at this given time, which is G-Fist, and it is a really strong team. A lot of safety. When you have two super powerful save switches, this is what you get. Only great coverage, good bulk, and great consistency. The reason it only has good bulk is just because Sableye and Venusaur aren't the bulkiest in the world, but they can still take a couple of hits. As you see here, this team does really, really well against a lot of overall meta. So much that it kind of like goes back and forth, as you see here. It kind of like scrims like, okay, you lose, and then, okay, Sableye can beat Medicham, and then you got G-Fist to cover the flyers. If Venusaur is really great with this team, just because if you lose the lead with Venusaur, you still have two very high pressure mons, and Venusaur in the back with shields or with energy is able to beat out a lot of combinations outside of getting hard countered. This team stands at 3.4%. To put in perspective, if you go from before, 3.3 was the previous team I mentioned. It was Azu Double Ghost team, and then it goes up in percentiles. But if you look at a lot of it, Venusaur is basically Venusaur. You'll see a lot of Venusaur. That's what I'm trying to say. So have some gas contingency or plan to see giant plant dinosaurs trying to rule the world, which they haven't yet, which is great because I'm the king of Charmanders, and Charmander is great. Except when you put water on its tail, it dies. So don't pour water on Charmander's tails, please. Anyways, overall, this team is still excessively powerful. It is compared to a lot of the other combinations we saw, as in the Nidoqueen Scrafty one, or the... Actually, no, the Hypno one was positive too. So the Hypno one actually would get you some dubs. As you see here, the Hypno one does have an above 500 rating. But the other ones just barely either scathe as in right here, as you see the Azu Double Ghost team barely scathes 500, or they don't. So this is a team that will get you some dubs if you use it. Lots of dubs. And for the most common team, standing at nearly 5% of all teams, which is a pretty good number, is Bastiodon, Medicham, and Sableye. You probably recognize this team because I highlighted a lot and it's really annoying. So you'll see a combination of either Bastiodon in the lead or Medicham in the lead. Usually it's Medicham in the lead from what I see. So Bastiodon or Medicham, expect to see it or see this core, and then Sableye save switch. Sableye is incredibly powerful. It's able, it's one of the most powerful save switches. You already know how much I rant about Sableye, especially if you've been watching the channel for a while. It's really that good. And combined with this core, this team in general, or anywhere where this is aligned except for, like I said, either Medicham or Bastion in the lead, it's incredibly powerful. In fact, if you look at some of the combinations right here, if we find it, Bastion, Medicham, see, almost all the combinations you see with this team are all positive. Or they're just used a lot, or there's different variations that do incredibly well. Or close to it. So, as you see here, this one, Medicham, Bastion, G-Fist, barely skates 500, but as you see, for the most part, a lot of these combinations or with that Medicham Bastion core is really powerful. So this stands at a 5.10%. If you're curious about it, I rant about it all the time, or I analyze this team a lot. This has an Ice Punch Psychic Medicham, Bastion has a standard moveset, and of course Sableye is a purified Sableye with return. Overall, amazing coverage, bulk, and consistency, and only great safety. This should theoretically be an A, though, especially if you have like a level 50 Sableye, because it has so much bulk. This team is incredibly powerful against so many combinations. You lose the lead against Bastion, switch into Sableye. If Sableye can take back switch, Medicham and Bastion in the back can possibly close out the match against a lot of combinations. There's a reason why this is one of the few most powerful teams. If you take out Sableye, literally this core alone has A's. Lots of A's, as you see. Triple A, like like the insurance, like We Are Farmers, like, yeah. Okay, if you don't get that reference, I'm sorry. I hate this team. Anyways, I hope you have insurance for your elo because this team is excessively powerful. As you see, this team's really great. Bastion can beat a lot of things down shields. I use this a lot. Bastion can beat a lot of flyers with zero shield in the zeros. And Medicham XL is incredibly powerful. So I talk about this team all the time, so I'm not going to go super depth into it, but it just to show you old habits die hard. Or, yeah, old habits die hard, or is that the phrase? I'm not sure. But anyways, as you see, a lot of those combinations of those teams are being used, and they there's multiple fingerprints all over the top teams list. So at 4.6%, it is the most common team as of right now in Open Great League, and I would say it's pretty accurate. And that's GG's. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, these are the 5 most common top teams. And based on my own battles or seeing other people's battles and datas, they're pretty accurate. You'll see, of course, because Great League is open, or Open Great League or Go Battle League is open, you're going to see a whole bunch of combinations. However, the leads that I've told you or combinations that I've told you are pretty popular. You can still see things like the Swamp Scarm core, the Bastiodon Medicham core, like I mentioned before. A lot of Sableye switches still. You still see a lot of Venusaurs in the lead. G-Fisses are everywhere, and of course, Azu is back. The Poison type meta really kind of fell off the charts a little bit. Even though Azu is a popular lead, I've seen a few Nidoqueens, mostly Nidoqueens in the lead. I've also seen some Golbats, so they're still out there, but it definitely dropped off a lot compared to when it first came out. Because, you know, the hype with all the Poison meta, people wanted to try it out, and then they were like, okay, you know what, whatever, it's not that great. And it goes to show you, well, it's still pretty dang usable, but definitely not as popular as it was when they first came out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Again, hopefully this gives you some instance on the patterns that you will see in Open Great League, because these teams are pretty dang popular, or combinations or patterns that I mentioned. You'll probably see them a lot, like I have or others. Would you do me a huge favor? Please like and subscribe. It's totally free. I make this really quick, but if all you could do me a huge favor, just put your mouse on the bottom right. You see that little box to subscribe? Please, just, if you put over it, it easily pauses the subtab and you can easily subscribe over there. My current subscribers, I really do appreciate you. Hopefully you're doing well in Season 9. And good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.